Thank you, sir. Thank you for joining in live. Uh, so before we jump into the topic,
Okay.
could you please, good evening once again, sir, for joining in this particular EVA podcast, EVA Text podcast. So could you please give a little intro or about yourself, sir, so that our listeners get to know uh, about yourself?
Okay. Hey, thank you.
You went on mute, sir, again.
Okay. Yeah. I think it's confusing. It says you're on mute. Okay. So yeah. Thanks for inviting me on this podcast, and thanks for setting this up. First of all, as this is this topic is one of the important topics for the current market.
Yes, sir.
And yeah, about myself, I am Vinay. Most of you would have already know me. I'm basically a product manager working at FI in the security domain. So I have 20 plus of years of experience in IT, especially in the information security domain. And I have been throughout my career, I've been working on authentication and authorization space, helping numerous um, organizations to achieve their security benchmarks
Okay.
related to authentication and authorizations of identities.
Okay. That's great, sir. So again, we'll wait if as the listeners will join in, they'll get to listen to it, and also um, other listeners can catch the replay. They can find us on Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts through YouTube platform, or they'll also find us on Amazon Music. Uh,
Okay.
Again, it's a wonderful opportunity. Uh, you being here, sir. I see that you are. I guess probably Srinivas and you were college mates, right? I wouldn't say
Yeah,
that's
we both were, I met him doing my master's.
in
We
Germany.
were, yeah, in Germany. We were doing MSc in mechatronics.
Okay.
So, yeah, we are studying together.
Okay.
And we have been, throughout this, whatever, 16, 15 years, we have been together in each other's journey.
Wow. So there is lots of trust factor, like the trust in fintech and the trust between. so
Exactly,
so there are
exactly.
lots of challenges, but let's jump into this particular topic. So as we have 25 minutes, if
Okay.
there are any listeners, we'll take up the questions from them. Uh,
Yep.
But again, with respect to fintech, what are the current challenges? The security tokens or authentication, multiple OTPs. There are multi-factor authentication apart from two or three or four. I don't know. Probably
Yeah.
let's get into the basics. Like, how can anybody establish trust in the fintech sector? What are the current challenges?
Okay. So these basically, okay, right from the basics, if you see the multi-factor authentication, whatever you said, it's only three factors that you have. It's what you know, what you are, and what you have.
Okay.
So what you know is all about the PIN, passwords, secure strings. These things are what only known to you,
Yes, sir.
and what you have is something what you carry, like a token, ATM card, debit card, or a OTP generator. There are tokens which display OTP, the small display, very sign sort of OTP tokens that you have,
Yes, sir.
and those are what you have. And what you are is basically the biometrics: your fingerprint, your iris, your retina scan, your voice, your recognition, and the way you walk, and there are a few other demographics around. So these are what you have.
Okay, sir.
So what you are. So this combination of any of these two factors will become a multi-factor. So usually it is either what you know and what you are, or what you have. So any of these two combinations will make a multi-factor authentication, instead of just using one method to identify a person as a trusted entity. um, usually the organizations or the entities will require you to authenticate yourself through any of the one of these means, either what you have and what you are and what you know. So basically, the especially coming to the fintech domain, where the trust is very very important. It's not that the other domains also, but the other domains get less affected economically, whereas the fintech domain, it is more or less a mandatory stuff
Okay,
to
sir.
protect to protect the either the data or the money, or whatever transaction that you are trying to do with the particular organization.
Okay.
So that is the reason why this becomes very 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 important and trivial for the organizations who are offering the digital transactions for the individuals, to establish, or to identify a particular individual and authenticate them through one of the secure channels or secure means. So instead of just username and password, which is very very you can easily break some of the passwords through social engineering, or you can guess, or some of the times, recently there was some survey by one of the tech agencies, and looks like password, the text or the string password is the most widely used password.
Okay.
So it is very annoying, true, but yeah, people still use password as password.
Oh God.
So just to break this, yeah, you just have to authenticate the particular individual not only by password.
Okay.
There should be another mechanism added to that. It can be biometrics, it can be OTP, it can be any other mechanism, but added, it will add a extra layer of security while identifying or authenticating the individual. So this
Okay. Again, with
this not yeah, go
smartphone
ahead.
usage, again with the smartphone usage, everybody has those biometrics enabled,
Yeah,
be it the finger swipe or be it the some like a graphical art like a swipe,
yeah.
all that is enabled. Uh,
Hmm.
so when we speak about fintech, so is it only the challenges in the banking sector, sir, or
No, it can be anywhere actually. It's not just, as I told you, it's not about fintech. I mean, the authentication of the particular user to to a organization is very important. And while you authenticate, it is also the responsibility of the organization to secure your data.
okay,
It can be your personal identifiable data. This is called PII. It includes your name, your date of birth, your address, your social security number, your Aadhaar number. So these are the some elements of a particular individual, where the usually the enterprises store, and some of them without your consent will try to use it for various other purposes, especially throwing ads to you, and trying to know your likes, dislikes, and your shopping experiences and your past transactions. So these things are actually captured while you do any transaction
okay,
with an entity. So these transactions are, it becomes the responsibility of the organization to secure them. And if at all they are using any of your data, your personal data, should take your consent. Hey, this is somebody xyz.com, and we are trying to, you have your account with us, and we have the following information. So do you want us to use this for all the marketing purposes? We like to send you these updates to you. So if you say yes, this, yeah, they take your consent and then try to provide the information that you are looking for. Otherwise, there should be a way, there should be a way, how much time they can store your data, and after that, after a certain period of time, the data is purged or deleted or removed from the system,
okay,
so that it will reduce your digital footprint.
okay. So,
So these are the challenges that you usually uh, any organization will corporate will usually have. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, so I'd like to thank the live listeners, Uday and Srinivas Jindal, who's also VP of Energy, who just joined in. Thank you, Uday, for tuning in live. So he's also one of our colleagues or associates at EYPIT. So are there any recent regulatory changes within India, like that impacted the trust factor in the fintech services?
Many see, I'll tell you the reason, because the in Europe recently, a couple of years ago, they have brought up a new framework called GDPR, where it has been updated to 2.0 now, where the personal data, the identifiable data, whatever data that is being identified as personal data, out of all the attributes of user, they have a regulation of controlling the data that is moving out of the Europe, and also the way that is being used, captured, stored by the organization. So
Okay.
uh, in India, yeah, RBI is slowly becoming more vigilant of the recent frauds that has been happening, and also the companies or organizations storing your personal data and sharing that with other organizations. So slowly, RBI is also trying to come up with new frameworks where they will guide, or they'll impose or regulate the data, the personal identifiable data, uh, moving out of the country, or the way it is being used or handled, or stored or shared across multiple domains. So that is one thing from the good thing that is happening from the government side. But what I suggest as an individual is, try to be very less to know, reduce the digital footprint of yours, and make sure that you, whatever financial transactions that you try to do digitally, use a secure channel, use a proper channel. Do not transact while you are in a public Wi-Fi, or in a public domain, or in a or on a shared internet services,
Okay.
where your data is very likely to be captured by somebody else.
Okay.
So these are the things that you need to take care of, and the recent study definitely shows that 90% of the frauds, the digital frauds that happen in India, are usually based on phishing, smishing, and other social engineering methods.
Yeah, the
So as I told you, just to save ourselves from these frauds digitally, you should be digitally aware where you should do the transactions, and from where you should not, and
okay.
reduce your digital footprint, and you should have some knowledge of digital frauds, the new methods that are being popped up daily. You could see the WhatsApp messages or forward messages these days are coming up, and even RBI is trying to educate the new methods that are coming up. The fraudsters are using to steal your money and steal your data, information,
Yeah,
etc.
that's right. Again, through UPA channels, there are many. But with respect to fintech companies, sir, um,
Yeah.
what are these fintech companies doing within India to build to gain the consumer trust? Like, are there any challenges these companies which are facing in getting the consumer trust?
Yeah, both actually. It is not just the trust. Actually, how do you trust a brand? I mean, how do you trust that somebody, the other party, is through some, um, this you see for certifications, or regulations, or compliance that the organization is meeting, right? So somebody is ISO certified, somebody is certified by some XYZ. So usually we, as a human tendency, we look for those certifications, security standards. um, Usually when you get into a website and trying to make a financial transaction, you'll definitely look for the digital certificate lock symbol at the top of the header,
Yeah.
the address bar,
Yeah.
and also you look for any PCI DSS transaction or certification that is the portal has undergone,
Okay.
and also some other certifications that you look for. So these certifications, though they are though they give a very good brand image to the organization, it is also that, and the newly innovative tech companies, they had to spend a lot of money, getting all this regulated, uh, and get into this certifications.
Okay, that is
So
again.
RBI is now, yeah, there's a huge investment you have to do to maintain that actually. So rather, what the other way of dealing with this type of stuff is, you simply redirect the your transactions whenever somebody is trying to make a transactions to your portal. You redirect the user to somebody else who is trustworthy enough, make a payment there and come back here, so that you are make sure that the user is you're gaining the user's trust by redirecting him to another place where he believes that his transaction is secure enough,
Okay.
like you being redirected to Razor Pay, some banking website where you pay, where you believe that particular portal is more secure, and then you redirect that user back to your page. And whatever information that you need is the piece of information about the transaction is also shared, so that the transaction is actually done by that particular user, and you can further process the transaction. So
Okay.
that way the fintech companies which are actually emerging, uh, you know trying to trying, rather than complying themselves, they're trying to rely on the third parties which are actually already compliant.
Yeah, that's right. There is also unauthorized these lending apps, the digital lending apps.
Yeah, that is a good story, but they are in a different league altogether. So
Okay.
these digital,
Lending apps.
lending apps, they some of them are in a different league. As I told you, some of them are only just developed to snatch all the data from your mobile
Oh God.
and see what you do and what apps you usually use, and thus trying to know your passwords, your secure strings, OTPs. There was recently there was a fraud that has been found by one app called that app is basically a torchlight app. You can download in Android, and that particular torchlight app was actually reading all your OTPs in your SMS. So once it gets to know about 100 200 OTPs from all your past transactions, it will try to predict the next OTP,
Okay.
so that the hacker need not rely on your mobile anymore. So the engine will know automatically, try to guess the next at the time where you are doing the transaction. It try to generate an OTP instead of the server, and actual server, then you can enter those OTPs and do the financial transactions and steal the money. So these type of apps are, some of them are specially designed to snatch the data. Some of them are to lure you and provide you money and get all your contacts lists, and once you deny, or once there is some um, in anything that happened to your money, or to a transaction, they'll try to call all your contacts and defame you, and also drag you to the illegal system. And because of which we have seen a couple of suicides that happen in India, because everybody thought that the individual has really took up a huge loan, which he hasn't actually.
Okay.
So that's how you have to be very careful with those lending apps,
Even,
either
e-
either for taking money or for stealing the data. Yeah,
yeah, and
go
I
ahead.
see that the Torchlight app is like a projector, right? Screen projection. Like,
Yeah, there are multiple variants that have come up, popped up recently. They have,
I
they have
also
act
ran
they act as a projector now.
I also ran a
Somebody.
YouTube ad also, which I'm shocked to see.
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay.
so I mean, they gained the advantage of the users through YouTube platform. They ran ads. It worked. I mean, you were using the torchlight as a projection screen onto the wall.
All.
It
Yeah.
was a scam.
It was a scam, and it started reading all your OTPs. Yeah, these OTPs are generated by, they have a fixed length, and there's an algorithm which runs, and it is based on the time of the transaction, and also there's a key that is getting injected into the algorithm, and this key differs from user to user. So sometimes what happens is, all you need to know, all you need to do is a smart way of reading all those transactions,
Okay.
OTPs at a particular time. So a particular time, say 8:24, and you have a OTP, and next time it's 9, and you have a six-letter string, numerical string. So next time it's 10 p.m., and you know there's six-letter string coming up. So if you read it, there's a pattern to it.
Okay.
The pattern is broken with a smart algorithm that you can develop, or you can give it to some AI engine. It will try to generate. Next time when you are making a transaction at a particular time, you tell the time, and it will generate the OTP for you.
Okay.
So that's all they need to know.
Okay. And also, if the role of the transparency and the communication in building trust between the service company, the fintech service companies and the users, how is it
Okay.
important, sir? Like what kind of role this transparent communication plays between the companies, the service companies and the users?
It's very important, because the transparency is the key here. So the organizations which are actually taking your data, taking collecting your data,
Yes, sir.
have to be very very transparent of what they are collecting, and for what attribute they are collecting, and what is that they are going to do with the data.
Okay.
So that the next time, usually what happens is, with the data that they collect, is with all the individuals in a particular metropolitan city with certain age group, and who are earning, say, 5 lakhs or 6 lakhs annum. So they'd like to target those type of, a particular category of individuals.
Okay.
So if you leave your digital footprint,
Sorry.
so
Yeah.
all these attributes are collected and used against you, to throw you all different types of, offers, or offerings that they do, and also ads, and also use the data to share to other organizations. So that way you become more biased, and you might also fall into a trap, or some false offers that you might click or get into, or make a transaction and lose your money. So
Okay.
that way you have to be very very careful while you are doing any transactions. I i usually suggest the end users to use incognito mode, or incognito, or the in private mode of a browser, personal browser, and that way they know what transaction they are trying to do, and which website they are going to, and what information is trying to collect. So that way you will be much more safer. So next time when you are actually doing a banking transaction, usually prefer open source browsers like Firefox and stuff like that. Do get into a private mode, do your transaction, close the browser. Probably it will leave very less digital footprints, and once your transaction is done, you close the browser and everything is gone. So
Okay.
next time so when you open the browser again, there's nothing stored in it, right? So it's all starts fresh again.
Yeah, that's right, sir.
So that way you will be more. Yeah.
And have you heard about Vivek Ramchandran, sir? He's the founder of the SquareX browser. Um,
Okay.
have you heard about him? Like SquareX is also very typical to what you mentioned, like incognito mode. He's a
Okay.
cybersecurity specialist. In fact, I love
Uh-huh.
when I initially experienced SquareX. I was like,
Okay.
I went, wow. Have you ever tried SquareX browser?
No, I tried its extension in Chrome some time ago, but
Yeah, that's right.
I have not used it extensively.
Okay.
Yeah,
The
but
disposable
yeah, good to know.
disposable browser, as in once the session
True,
is over, it gets disposed like a disposable glass.
exactly.
It's use and throw after 10 minutes of whatever the you can extend it in case if you want to continue using it. But that's a valid point which you mentioned, sir. Now let's jump into the last question for this evening.
Yeah.
Though we wanted this podcast to be 30 minutes, But again, this can go on and on. Probably we'll have another session. Uh,
Yeah.
as this is like first time we are testing 8 p.m. Earlier, we used to have the 5 p.m. sessions
Okay.
where there were a couple of listeners who used to join us live when they were at work. Uh,
Okay.
so 8 to 8 p.m., I guess probably people are traveling back home or they might be commuting or we don't.
Yeah.
Uh,
I understand.
so the next question is again with the respect to the innovative technologies, sir. What are these fintech companies adopting to enhance their security and trust?
The recent UPI itself is a great example of the innovation that happened to India. So the wide adoption of UPI, and in the smallest amounts that we are trying to do, uh, is spending and transferring small amounts to small vendors over the street.
Okay.
So that's a very good example of using the technology, and trying to solve the problem.
Okay.
But the flip side of it, the flip side of it is you are trying to do a huge number of transactions. Though the value of the transaction is each transaction is very low, but over the time, a day in a particular day, if you're transferring 5 rupees 10 times, you are doing 10 transactions actually.
Okay.
But for traditional bank, there's a limitation usually, for the type of account that you have. Savings account, usually they have, on the per quarter you are allowed to do only say 100 200 transactions. So but with the UPI coming in, they are forced to do, and you are allowed to do more number of transactions with a very lesser value. But you'll end up having more number of transactions, and there are hidden charges that are levied by the bank. Say, hey, yeah, in the last quarter you're allowed to do, as a bank, as a savings account, you're allowed to do only 200 transactions, but you did more than 600 transactions. Now you have to
Okay.
pay a fee for that.
Okay.
So
With
these things are hidden. The people should be educated about using multiple accounts. Don't just use one account, use multiple accounts instead.
okay, and also, do they use this blockchain? I mean, this UPI, when it comes, do they use the technologies like blockchain or AI and ML for increasing
No, not
efficiency?
really. Not they're straightforward technologies. You don't really need AI, but AI is used there. I know the post transactions. All the transactions are fed to an engine where it will try to read and see if at all there is any fraudulent transaction that's happening. So all
Okay.
these things are no post the transaction is done, not at the point where the transaction is happening.
Okay.
It'll
So,
let you happen the transaction. That's where the RBI has put the cap, right? So you have only per day there's a 1 lakh within 24 hours. In
so
the
there
past
is a
24 hours,
limit
you're allowed
for
to limit. Yeah,
security. So I agree with what you mentioned. So mostly the technologies like AI and ML will come into picture looking at the pattern of transactions or how
exactly.
often. Uh,
It's not at that point of transaction. So it will let you happen the transaction. Let the transaction happen. Post that, once the transaction is successfully done, it will collect the data and feed it to engine, and it will see if there is any anomaly in the transaction.
okay.
So if there is an anomaly, like somebody swiping a card, 50,000 in a petrol bunk, nobody fills a fuel of 50,000 rupees in India. So usually it's not the case, right? So it'll let the transaction happen, and once the transaction happens, that is fed to an engine, and engine will try to detect and say, hey, somebody has fueled up 50,000 rupees in a petrol bunk. So there's definitely an anomaly. So later the bank will call you and say, hey, is it really you who has swiped the card, or somebody has stolen it, or so that way there are engines, the AI and ML have been adopted well into the systems now, and they're trying to detect it as early as possible. Though not at that point in time,
Okay.
but yeah, it try to detect as early as possible, within a short span of time, post the transaction has happened.
Okay, so there is an alert raised by the system in case, like this example which you had given. In fact, I know from tier two cities, if there are no ATMs working, there are people who do transact that way, like 10,000,
Yeah,
5,000 in
exactly.
petrol bunks. I did experience this once in Karimnagar.
Okay.
Uh, but Again, with respect to EVA, IP, and IT services, sir, are there any patents which you know, or anything into copyright or quality or ISO with fintech companies? Like, are you aware of any other examples?
I myself have a patent in in the generation of OTP in this domain,
Oh,
where where the idea is all about increasing the complexity of the OTP with the transaction amount, with the severity of the transaction. Say you are doing a 10 rupee transaction, and for that you really don't need a complex OTP of A1, B2, capital Z, and
yeah,
OTP, something like that. So if you are making $100 transaction, or 10,000 rupees transaction, definitely you need a decent complexity of OTP. And if you are doing anything about 1 lakh, or say you need more complex OTP, where user has to really be vigilant of what he's typing and look at the OTP and then type. So that way you might reduce the chances of guessing the OTPs by the engines, automated engines.
yeah. Even I guess I read somewhere through the UPI apps, maybe phone pay or maybe RBI introduced something where you don't require OTPs for transactions less than 2,000 bucks or 1,000 rupees.
UPI Lite is all about that. You don't need to enter the PIN. If there is an amount of less than 500, you can set the bar, I suppose. So
Okay.
UPI Lite is all about that.
Yeah, for groceries and for
Yeah.
regular need.
In any small payments, you need not enter the PIN.
Okay, so this is awesome, sir. I may know when was your patent regarding this OTPs was granted?
In 2021.
Wow. Like, are you also looking at the commercialization of that patent?
Yeah, it is on my name, but it is actually owned by the organization for which I was working at that
Oh,
point in time. So
okay.
yeah, it is that commercialization has to happen from the organization itself.
Oh, okay, okay. That's great, sir. It's been pleasure. In fact, there are some insights. I'm sure in probably in episode 2 of this, we'll cover the other trust and security challenges, mainly with respect to
Yeah,
fintech and the innovative solutions which we are all coming up with. Um,
yeah,
Probably as tomorrow is again International Women's Day, we'll have something lined up for tomorrow, for
yeah.
March 8th, with other women in patent or women in innovation. But
Okay,
definitely, Srinivas sir will keep you posted about
done.
the next episode. Probably it could be 9th of March. Uh,
Okay,
let's see, again, we have to look at your availability also. Uh,
yeah.
but it's been great chatting with you, sir, regarding this. And
Thank you,
we will send you the recording links. But thank you so much for your valuable time, Vinayji.
thank you. Thanks a lot, sir.
Yeah, you have a great evening, sir. Bye bye. Take care.
Wish you the same. Bye.